Hello, I'm Amy Siegel, and I'm the Vice President here at ASA.
And I'm Tina Wiseman, and I'm a strategic planning specialist and a helper to the schools.
And today we are here to talk about the intervention kickoff and the tasks that schools will be doing. Our update 1 through 3 schools are going to be doing in September and October. So we are going to go ahead and shut off our cameras and get started. As update schools, all of you have worked your way through vision to action at least once. Some of you have done it many times. This is the time of year when you're focused on updating your organizational structure and implementing the plan you wrote last year. So later this semester, you'll make sure your current data is up to date, and next semester, you'll begin writing next year's plan. So this is just your roadmap. We like to go over it so you can see where we are.
So here's your agenda for today in updating your organizational structure and your kickoff inventions. And this is, we'll cover the months of September and October. So basically Amy's already updated the cycle review, but you'll see more about that. Working smart, which of course we always encourage. We'll give you the September and October tasks. We'll talk about the council discussion options that you can have, opening the council discussion, the actual presentation, some tips on how to have a really good discussion, and then also your student body discussion.
So looking at our update cycle review, just as a reminder, update 1, if you're on that tab, it could be because this is your first year implementing interventions from your SIP, from your school improvement plan, or it could be because you've cycled around through update 1, 2, and 3, and now you're back at 1. So if this is your first year, you're in update 1, your steering team shifts to facilitators of the council and student body. And we're going to talk about how you do that. If you're coming back around to update 1, that means that your focus is on refreshing your steering team and council and making sure all voices are being heard in your student body discussions. This is just the year that you're really making sure that people who've moved on or off that council, if you've got people on the steering team who are ready to cycle off, you're bringing on new people, and making sure we haven't got into bad habits with student body discussions where we're only hearing from a few students. So that's update 1. In update 2, you're continuing to implement your interventions and you're tweaking your plan as needed with new data. Update 3 schools, this is the time that you update your vision and conduct surveys. Schools always have the option to conduct their surveys after their startup year, but in update 3, it's required that you conduct surveys so you have fresh data. And then this is also the year that we really push you to make a hard look at your new data and really adjust that plan, not just tweak it, but really look at this is the time we revise that plan. So that is what the different update cycles, and you'll see that when you log into your BTA process page at the top, it'll tell you which tab you're on, and that tells you which update cycle your school is in.
So for the good old steering team, and you've all been together for at least a year now, no matter which cycle that you're in, and some of you know the drill here, but it's always good to have a refresher. And for some of you, you may be new to the steering team, and so this is something that just kind of gives you an outline of every step that we take along the way. So always watch the videos. The videos like this one are going to go over the work that the steering team will do each month, and they are linked on the BTA process page near the top of each group of tasks. Make sure now to schedule time. Get it into your schedule, into your work schedule, into your, when the steering team's going to meet, because putting it on the back burner right now is a serious mistake that you'll regret later. So get the calendars together of all the steering team members and then figure out when you will be meeting with Fidelity, and that you will take the time out to keep the process going, because it's a pretty good responsibility, but it's a very great responsibility because you're going to see a lot of progress. Be sure and share the work. So after watching each video, have a steering team meeting to set the dates for the council and the student body discussions, and then divvy up those tasks. Don't be an army of one or two. And we know historically, no matter what group it is, no matter what club it is, no matter what, it kind of has a funnel effect. And then we end up with just very few doing a lot of it. You're not going to have the buy-in. Steering team members need to set an example to the rest of the school showing that they're working as a team. And then they expect others to become a part of that team. So build your team here with this really strong steering team. Do the work in order. So each step of the vision to action process builds upon the previous step. So make sure that each step has been completed and you've sent it to me, it meets criteria before you move on to the next step. And then please, please, please contact me whenever you feel the need to. Check in early, check in often. You can send me an email, you can leave a phone message, or if I'm in the office, I'll be near the phone, but don't ever hesitate to not check in.
Looking at September and October, this is kind of with broad strokes. Your VTA process page will break down your tasks in much more detail, but as an overview, Update 1 schools are setting up or renewing their School Improvement Council. There's a video for that. You're also creating or reviewing the structure for getting input from your student body. There's another video for that. And then you're conducting the intervention kickoff discussions. Update 2 and 3 schools are updating the School Improvement Council and conducting intervention kickoff discussions.
We'd like to offer you some council discussion options. There's, as you know, well, those of you who have been through the cycle at least once as an update school, you have two different ways that you can have meetings. You can either have an in-person meeting, face-to-face, or you can have online discussions. So in an in-person meeting, just as a review here or new information for our new update schools, you will show the council video, or you don't have to show the video. You can present the content yourself, just however you're most comfortable doing. You'll share reports and materials with those in attendance. You'll have a discussion time where everyone will discuss together. You'll have a steering team will be facilitating the meeting and recording minutes. And this is something that I can't emphasize enough. Don't wait until after the meeting and try to remember what happened. Please have a facilitator there who will run the meeting, and then just as importantly, have someone who is recording minutes, taking attendance, doing all of those things behind the scenes, because it will make life so much easier and you'll have much more accurate information. And then the online input is still available for anyone who can't attend the in-person meeting, which makes it nice because we all know that schedules get crossed up or overloaded. And so everyone has that option at all times. If you choose to have online discussions only, that's fine too. So all council members need to really, here again, fidelity is the word, but watch that video and review the materials on their own, and they can even get together. I mean, the nice thing about this is the portability. They can watch it at home, they can watch it, while they're sitting, waiting on an appointment, whatever. It's there, it's mobile, it's good to go at all times. The council members then leave feedback online. There's a series of questions, and then they'll have spots where they can answer the information. And then the steering team, there again, it's the steering team's job to monitor the discussion and then follow up with anyone who hasn't yet participated. Don't just think it will take care of itself. So those of you who are the steering team, people in charge of the two council areas, make sure that you're watching that and keeping that going. It's no different than an in-person meeting where you want to make sure that everyone's participating in the discussion.
Let's have a look at how we open the council discussion. And this is for whether you're doing an in-person meeting or online discussion only. So let me switch over. This is one of our demo schools, and you'll see up here we're in update 1. And this is not our first time doing update 1. Since this is one of our sample schools, it looks a little different than what yours will. So we're going down to the intervention kickoff. And in step 4, we're opening council discussion 1. So I click on the envelope because we're going to be sending email from the system. We have some information about the discussion format and then about opening the discussion. So our first decision here is, are we going to have an in-person discussion as well as online input? If we say yes, then we're going to select a date, say that it is next week, and a time. We'll say 4 p.m. and the location is in the library. The online input, even though we're doing an in-person meeting, online input will be available as soon as we click the send invitation. And then our third decision is about online input again, and we're going to see when that'll close. So we want to set a date. We want to give everybody some time, but we also want to meet our deadlines. So we pick a date that will give everybody time to participate online, but then also gives the steering team time to go through that feedback and write up the summary. So then we click send invitation. And the system is working. There we go, and it refreshes, and you can see that the discussion invitations have been sent. And then this also gives me, if I need to send the discussion invitation, like let's say that Steve Apple contacts me and says, I don't think I got my email, or I think I deleted my email and I don't have my link, you can always just click that to send this again. So this gives you the status that the online input for the discussion is currently open, and that it gives the date and time that we're having the in-person meeting. And so if we go back to the process page, if I go back to open online discussion again, that's where I can resend the invitations. Okay, and we'll talk more about tools that are available after we do the presentation. So let's move over to the actual presentation. And Tina and I will start this as if we were the steering team. Hello, I'm Amy Siegel, and I'm the Vice President here at ASA.
And I'm Tina Wiseman, the Strategic Planning Specialist. I work with the schools on school improvement plans.
And today we're going to be talking about the council discussion for intervention kickoff. First, we want to say thank you. We know that it takes time to serve on your school improvement council and that there is a good bit of work involved with that. Your time is very much appreciated by your school and your community.
Your role as a school improvement council member is an important one because it's obviously you wouldn't be sitting there or watching this online if you didn't really care about your community's young people. And being a part of that is going to give you sort of privileges into looking at data and different things. And it's not, we don't rely on hearsay, we rely on the cold hard data. And so within this, you're going to be reviewing student and school data. And then it's very important that you provide input from your perspective. So whatever role that you play as a council member, please keep that in mind and then offer from that perspective. If you're from business, offer a business perspective of how you see this whole process working and how the kids can have great success. So everybody has an extremely important role in this.
Today's big question is how will each member support the implementation of the interventions in this year's school improvement plan?
So first of all, we need to know what the interventions are. And the interventions are changes or activities designed to address root causes. And root causes, very simply put, are the things that were identified last year by the school as getting in the way of student achievement. And so once you can put interventions into place that will start getting rid of those root causes, those problems, and then as you clear that out, I'm a gardener, so I always use my weed analogy. You clear out the weeds, then the plants can grow. And so our students, are that we need good, healthy soil from a gardening perspective. And so we want to clear the way so that the kids can really learn and learn well.
So you're probably asking what are our school's interventions for this year? Up at the top of the page, in the top right corner of your online discussion, you'll see a link that says review your school's intervention report. If you click on intervention report, that's going to open up a list of your school's interventions and with a description of each. If you're having this meeting in person, your steering team will have that report to distribute to you.
Now, what will you do? You're going to, as Amy says, you're going to open the intervention report, and then you're going to describe what you will do to help implement each intervention that involves you. So you can see that this month's discussion only has one question. You can type as much as you want or as you need to describe how you'll be involved in each intervention. And so there again, keeping your background in perspective, what you bring to the table to help with student achievement. How can you help?
So that's really it for today for your council input. If you have any questions or need help with this, please don't hesitate to contact your school's council discussion point person. And that person, if you're watching this on the discussion page, that person's name and contact information is right above this video. So thank you so much for your for volunteering to be part of your school improvement council, and thank you for your participation today.
Have a great day.
Okay, so that was our council presentation, and you can either do that yourself or in your meeting if you're doing an in-person meeting, or you can show that video, or you can, if you're doing an online discussion only, that'll be the video that your council members watch.
So here we go with some tips on how to get that good, smooth council discussion going. Remember, always plan ahead, and you're all in school, This is no different than what we do every day. So if you have that in-person meeting, make sure you have the copies of the intervention summary, and that's step 3, ready for distribution. So, everything's, run those papers ahead of time. We all know that. We can do it in our sleep. And then if possible, there again, you might want to try to tell everybody, and, you could even put it in your invitation letter to set the dates that, bring your calendars. We're going to be setting dates. So try to get those dates set for all 5 meetings, and then distribute those dates at the first meeting. And so there again, you can get a lot covered in a short amount of time in that first meeting, and then you just set it up for you've got that good foundation for the rest of the year. Plus, those in attendance will see how efficient you are and how, and I don't know about you, but I'm not a big meeting person, but I don't mind going to a meeting if it's efficient. So, be sure and keep that in mind at all times. And then please, please, please take attendance. This is something probably that is I would say, the overall weakest link historically. And so we're really going to pay attention to that this year. So when the minutes are entered, you'll be asked for a breakdown of the groups represented at the meeting. whether they're faculty, parents, or whatever. Get that sign-in sheet. You have it ready to go. Make sure everybody has signed it, and then make sure that on that sign-up sheet that you have a column where they can check which group they're represented, or they can write it in. So, and then record that information on that in-person meeting, because I'm not there, so I can't see who is there. And then on the online discussion, you're going to plan to monitor the discussion each day it's open. And there again, it's so easy to have it kind of out of sight, out of mind. But remember, it's no different than an in-person meeting, and you're scanning the room and you're making sure that everyone's engaged and that, you know, everyone feels like they can speak up and say something. Use a participation report to see which groups have yet to participate. And you can believe for sure that's one of the first things I click on when you submit the council minutes. I click on that participation report, and then, as some of you well know, I'll put that in the comments if there's a lack of participation by any specific group. We need everybody on board. It can't just be, you know, a handful trying to get the school up and running and in good shape. Use the email list on the participation report to remind those who have not participated that their input's needed. It doesn't hurt to send a reminder. So don't feel like you're being intrusive or anything else. We all get busy, we all forget things, and so just, you know, putting that proverbial bug in the ear never hurts.
Let's look at that participation report so that you have that handy. In your intervention kickoff, you have already opened the current discussion. These are your monitoring tools. In the edit column, if you click here, you can go in. This just saves you a step from having to find your invitation in the email. But let's say that I'm Betsy Green. I'm going to go to the monitor. I'm asked to confirm that I'm Betsy Green. And you guys want to be careful with this. You know, we always assume goodwill. But then I'm seeing the council discussion as a steering team member. And so this tells me at the top that I am in the steering team version. And that also means that I can manage council members. So if we have somebody being completely inappropriate, that might be a link that I want to follow. We might have to take somebody off the council if that were to happen. So yeah, I have the same, I can see, we don't have a discussion entered in here, but there are things that I can do. If somebody did, you know, type something that was not appropriate or not relevant to the discussion, if I needed to, as a steering team member, I could delete that. So that's where I'm monitoring. I can also comment. If I'm Betsy Green and Betsy Green is a faculty member, Betsy might have a role to play in implementing interventions. So it would be important for, you know, your steering team members to also contribute to the discussion because they play a role. Okay, we'll go back to the process page. And back down in the intervention kickoff, now I can also monitor in the report. This is going to tell me who has participated as far as our different groups. So this is, of course, just our very, very small sample school. Yours will look very different from this. So you want to look and see, are we getting all of our teachers participating? Have they commented on this? Have they left a comment? Have they only agreed with what somebody else said? This discussion doesn't have the yes, no, not sure. But if it did, you would be able to see if they had done that. So it kind of gives you an idea of their level of participation. And then we have up here at the top of the list, there's an icon for emailing the council members who have not yet participated. And I can click on that. This will give me a report of those people, and then I can copy the email addresses and send an email just from, you know, from my own personal email, just reminding those folks that we do need their input and to please go back to their invitation and click on that link, their own specific personal link to get into the discussion and to participate. And I know that sending emails, you hate to bother people, but you don't want the discussion to fall off of anyone's radar. We're only going to be emailing the people who have not yet participated. So those are the people who need a little nag. And a lot of times I think they'll appreciate that, you just reminded them, oh yeah, that's something I still need to do.
Now we get into the student body discussion. And some of you are old pros at this, and some of you, this is brand new also. This is one of the most interesting discussions that I think happens during the entire year. And I know I've had more than one discussion with schools where I say, I've used that term half to death, is out of the mouth of babes. But you will be amazed at what you get if you really do a good, thorough student body discussion. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to distribute a list of the top interventions with an age-appropriate summary of each intervention to all the students. Now, if you have 42 Title I implementations as far as getting letters out to parents and all this and that, obviously those are not what you want to use in a student body discussion. What you want to look at is, what are your strongest curriculum-based student involvement things that you talk about in the classroom every day. And so what we're doing is we're giving the students a name for it so that they can understand when we talk about intervention, they learn that as their vocabulary. So, this is our math intervention. This is our English language arts intervention. This is our discipline intervention, our attendance intervention. And so get that discussion going very early on with the kids so that they know what's going on and be consistent with that vocabulary. And then what you'll do is you just very simply ask the students how they can help implement the interventions. And I know there again, Amy and I have talked, and I said from the years I taught and her experience in teaching and everything else, it's like, we all know that students can be just beautifully passive. They can let a teacher just wear him or herself out trying to teach a lesson. But then we need to remember is that, it needs to be interactive. We need to turn the tables. We need to ask them, what are you going to do to help implement these interventions? And if they understand what you're talking about from the beginning, then they'll give you some great feedback. So always feel free to change the language of the student body discussion prompt so it's grade level appropriate. They have to be able to understand it because, as you know, you're giving it to kids, basically preschool, kindergarten, primary grades up through senior level. So just set it so that it works for you.
And then we have a few suggestions for the format your student body discussion might take. We know that a lot of schools have used their student council or another student group as the facilitators. And so you train those facilitators and let them have discussion in homerooms or going class to class, however that works best in your building level setup. And then you're making sure that all homerooms are represented, all students are represented. And so then the student council would take minutes and they would report back to the steering team.
And one thing, Amy, I'm going to jump in on that too. Remember, please, please, please remember that the student council helps serve the student body, but they don't completely represent the student body. And the one major error that I see where schools just aren't getting the information that they could be getting is they only ask the student council or the student government kids these questions. And it's, that's not the purpose. The kids, as members of council, are learning to be facilitators in everything, in student government and everything. So allow them to participate, but use them specifically also as facilitators so that you get all the kids in the building that want to participate. have the ability to participate.
Absolutely. If you know that you tend to get a certain demographic in your student council, and you will only get part of the story if you're only asking the student body discussion question of the student council. So you definitely want to set them up as facilitators so you can hear from your much wider student body. Absolutely. Um, Another option is to use the teachers as facilitators. Not every um, building level has student council, and sometimes it's just more appropriate to have the teachers be facilitators. So in this case, the teachers would present the interventions, and then they would ask the students the discussion prompt. They would record the answers and report those answers back to the steering team. Some of our schools who are using one-to-one technology, they have been using Google Documents to do this. And so they would put the intervention titles and descriptions in one document that is a view-only document. And then in another document, they have students answer the discussion prompt. And we've had some schools report really good success with this, especially if they email and remind students to, to be sure that they participate, that they're, their opinion is important, and making sure, watching that discussion unfold, and seeing how students respond to each other, maybe helping guide a little bit if that needs to be done. But yeah, it's a great way if you're using one-to-one technology. You can incorporate your student body discussion that way.
And overall, with the student body discussions the past couple of years, the majority of you, I mean, you are to be applauded. The attendance and the participation rate is extremely high. That's wonderful. And you are getting some tremendous feedback. So keep up the good work. So now you can get off to a good start. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to meet with the steering team to go over the VTA process sections for September and October. Then it's time to divvy up those tasks, set your deadlines, plan ahead so every step will be completed before the end of October. And then there again, contact me if you need any help at all. I'll be around through either email or telephone or a telephone message. Do remember that in our September update, and please watch your email for our updates, because that's important. And there again, it's important you get your steering team members' names on there so that they get those updates. We give you every bit of information that we can think of that will be of help to you. And one of those things are my hours. I'm working 4 hours a day this year, and I'm still in the office Monday through Friday. But those hours are on the September report. So go back, check the update for September, and that will be where my hours are.
So I know we say it over and over again. We're going to say it one more time. If you need help, don't forget the 5-minute or the 5-second rule. Be sure to contact Tina. She's your strategic planning specialist. You have her phone number and her email address. We She's just a fantastic resource. And one of the things, I think as a gardener, she'll appreciate this. One of the things she does well is cross-pollination, taking good ideas from one school and spreading them to another. So if you're having an issue, it's likely that somebody else has had that same issue and found a way through it. And Tina's really happy to share that.
Here's to a good year, a good start. I'm already getting some really, really good feedback from schools. It's like I told Amy earlier, it's like a breath of fresh air to see those submissions come in and just kind of get reacquainted with everybody for the year and hit the ground running. So there again, call, email, whatever you need to do, and we wish you only the best for the coming school year.